Critics of Donald Trump now, they are up in arms over a comment he made yesterday about Hillary Clinton. This all started at a rally when Trump talked about how Hillary Clinton, if given the opportunity as president to pick Supreme Court justices, could threaten the Second Amendment. Here is what Trump said. It lasts about 23 seconds in length in its entirety. Watch.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, that will be a horrible day.
So this thing caught on fire from both sides. You have the internet blowing up and many TV pundits saying that Trump was inciting violence. Some even going as far as using the word assassination. Trump responded with Sean Hannity saying that is simply, it begins with the letter B, according to Rudy Giuliani. And then he said, give me a break on Fox last night. Here's Byron York, political correspondent for the Washington Examiner and a Fox News contributor. How you doing, Byron? Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning to you. All right, you heard it, and what did you think or interpret? You go ahead with your opinion first. Fire away.
Well, here we are again, another Trump controversy, opponents jumping on it, him defending it, and a lot of Clinton news receiving relatively less attention because of it. I think a reasonable listener could conclude that Trump, in some sort of offhanded way, was suggesting a gun rights supporter could shoot Hillary Clinton. And if you go back to yesterday afternoon and imagine something different, imagine Donald Trump saying, look, I misspoke. I didn't mean how it sounded. I meant that we should all unite to defeat Hillary Clinton. I think if he said something like that, it probably would have knocked the legs out from under a lot of the criticism.
Let me give you what he said first, Trump in his own words, Byron. Then there's more to talk about this next. Watch.
Nobody in that room thought anything other than what you just said. This is a political movement, and there can be no other interpretation. Even reporters have told me, I mean, give me a break.
He says he is held to a different standard. In some respects, he probably is.
Well, there's no doubt that, look, the press has been very, very negative toward Donald Trump. By the way, there was a Harvard study of press coverage of Donald Trump that showed that he received basically neutral to favorable coverage back in the early days of the primary and when he was doing so well in the primaries. And then it turned sharply negative once he actually secured the nomination. We're continuing to see that. On the other hand, I think a lot of this stems from Trump's refusal to alter his style to fit the general election. He still to this day talks a lot about how he defeated 16 other Republican candidates, which he did. And he's often said, as late as yesterday, that there's no reason to change a style that has been working. But back then, remember how he used to talk about the polls all the time? He was winning in the polls, and the polls were telling him that what he was doing then was working. Now the polls are telling him that what he is doing now is not working, but he has refused to change his style.
Did you hear Giuliani this morning?
I did.
Yeah, he said he was with Trump and he was stunned by the reaction.
Yeah, there is this kind of bubble that you're in, and Trump says this from the stage. He comes off, people say great speech, and Giuliani and Trump were going to their next event. Trump doesn't know there's a controversy about it until some of his staff, they're looking at social media, they see what people are saying, and they realize that there was another way that people read this. Now, of course, a number of the people who got agitated about this were his critics and his opponents in the Democratic Party. That's just not a surprise. But as I said before, I think a reasonable person can conclude that he really misspoke here.
Back to your point about the polls. You started to say if you're winning, you brag about it and you keep doing what you're doing. But if you're behind and you're losing, perhaps you change your style. I don't think that happens with Trump. Are you suggesting it will?
Well, I'm not suggesting that it will. But I'm suggesting that every candidate who has run for president and won has run a slightly different, somewhat different campaign in the general election than they ran in the primary contest, if they were contested primaries, as they certainly were with Trump. So Trump has been saying over and over and over again, look, What I did is working. I beat 16 other candidates. And that is true up until the moment he won the Republican nomination. After that, he only had one opponent, Hillary Clinton, a Democrat in a different political and media environment. And so far, he has not really altered his style to fit that new environment.
Speaking of media, he loves to bang on the media, and he's calling it dishonest now. And what Giuliani suggested is that the Clinton team has its dozen reporters, and they fire off an email, and they can start their own prairie fire, and that was a result of this. We will see what is said on it today. Clinton team calls it dangerous. Byron, thank you for your time.
There will be a lot, Bill.
Washington, D.C. Oh, yeah. Now, what did Giuliani say? I think there are 50 more chapters in this election. By the way, Paul Ryan easily won his re-election in the first congressional district.
Not too surprising, though, there, right?
Probably not. You know, there was a challenge there, and some folks went in that district trying to...
I think he's happy to have that one over with.
Likely.
Move on to the general.